Mike Talkers, this is your boy D Jones, a little special rendition of Chitty Chat. Usually, I do it a little differently. I have a mild and spicy bucket, and then I have people I call on the phone and we discuss and so forth and so forth. But I'm doing a little something different. I've been privileged to network and meet somebody, a really, really interesting gentleman yesterday by the name of Maynard. And so I want to give you a little intro. Maynard, he has a book. It's called A Team Building Maestro. Auto shop owner, as a proud owner of the 5 Bay Auto Shop, Maynard's journey into team building began in the high-stakes world of automotive excellence. With a background as a master mechanic, he not only fine-tuned engines, but also honed the art of fostering collaboration among his skilled team members. Franchise restaurant owner, Maynard's entrepreneurial spirit, extended to the culinary world, where he owned a successful franchise restaurant, managing a bustling kitchen and front of house operations. Required not only culinary expertise, but also a keen understanding of building a cohesive team to deliver exceptional dining experiences. Project manager on multi-million-dollar mining shovel overhauls. Stepping into the realm of colossal machinery, Maynard served as a project manager overseeing a multi-million-dollar mining shovel overhauls. His ability to lead diverse teams through complex projects showcases his knack for strategic planning, effective communication, and motivating teams to achieve ambitious goals. Mechanic on mining equipment maintenance teams. In the demanding field of mining, Maynard rolled up his sleeves as a hands-on mechanic, contributing to the maintenance and upkeep of crucial mining equipment. His role in ensuring the seamless operation of heavy machinery underscored the importance of teamwork in high-stake environments. Top alcohol funny car crew chief. The adrenaline-fueled world of drag racing became another arena for Maynard's expertise. As the crew chief for a top alcohol funny car, he orchestrated a well-coordinated team to achieve peak performance, highlighting his ability to instill a winning mindset and camaraderie among team members. Ski patrol leader. Beyond the mechanical and racing realms, Maynard's leadership extended to the snowy slopes as a ski patrol leader, navigating the challenges of mountain rescue and ensuring the safety of skiers. Showcase his adaptability and fostering teamwork across diverse scenarios. Maynard's extensive real-life experiences across auto shops, restaurants, multi-million-dollar projects, mining, racing, and outdoor rescue have crafted him into a true maestro of team building. Through his rich background, Maynard shares invaluable insights and practical lessons in building, leading, and inspiring successful teams in any challenging environment. His journey is a testament to the transformative power of effective team building, making him a compelling guide for those eager to elevate their teams to new heights. So, as you can hear from that wonderful intro, he's a great person for team building. Very, very interesting gentleman who I had the pleasure of meeting yesterday. And so I'm going to bring him on right now, and we're going to have some fun. Maynard, how you doing this evening, my guy?
Daniel, pretty good, buddy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good. I can hear you really, really good. Thank you so much for allowing me to, have some of your time. I always tell people you can't borrow time, you can only take it away. And so for you to be spending some of your time with me this evening, I'm really, really privileged and I'm thankful for it. First things first, reading that wonderful intro, that was an amazing intro, amazing bio. And I wanted to ask you, what made you get into being a mechanic and getting into automotive and stuff like that?
Wow, Daniel, big question, buddy. Well, I'll take you back getting out of high school. I guess when I was 5 years old, let's go before high school. When I was 5 years old, my dad had a mechanical shop and welding shop in a little province called New Brunswick, and that's just north of the state of Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was basically born in a garage. Through junior high school, I joined cadets, became a vehicle technician in the reserves. From there, I transferred into regular force into the Navy as naval weapons tech. In the Navy, in the mid-'80s, I went queer and found a woman, got out, got married, and then I started back into the car world, from which I knew because there was a great demand for weapons technicians out in Civvy Street. So yeah, that started me on my mechanical repair journey professionally. Ironically, I didn't start as a mechanic. I started out when I left the Navy as a body man, doing body work, collision repair, and working at a car dealership. I was working both sides of the fence. So I'd work in the body shop, and when it slowed down there, I'd go over into the mechanical shop and work there. So I got my license as a mechanic. Year 2000, my whole world collapsed, family breakup. I gave my business that I created to my two adopted sons in New Brunswick. And I came out to Fort McMurray with 2 garbage bags of clothes, a toolbox, 1993 Chevy Blazer, and on your mark, to set, go. And that was the year 2000. So quite a transition in life. So that's what got me started down the road of being a mechanic. Being out here, I started out as a mechanic. I took a $5,000 signing bonus at the Ford dealership to turn out check engine lights on gas and diesel. From there, I did natural gas compression and mining. I was working as a supervisor in a mechanical shop supporting an oil sands mine. From there, I went to oil sands doing fire suppression. Also, I was doing air conditioning, HVAC, fire suppression. Did that. From there, I went to from a contractor in a mine to an actual mine itself, which became a technician on mining shovels there. And then from there to management, I left there back as a technician back into Edmonton, which is 500 kilometers south of Fort McMurray, then back up to Fort McMurray for money. So it's been quite a ride over a period of 50 years. I've been in the workforce. Actually, my age is 65, and I started at 15 years of age in the workforce. So that's why that resume that you see, Daniel, is so long, is that I've had 5 decades at this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So pretty cool.
I like it, man. I love that you were able to kind of take me on a timeline through your journey, 50 years plus of doing this outstanding work, team building. I wanted to ask you a question about team building, particularly. Yep. I'm an educator myself. My job, as well as your job, it's a team field. And if everybody doesn't play their role correctly, then usually things don't go as that you would want them to go. And so I want to ask you, as somebody who is so well at, creating teams and team building, what is the easiest thing about, creating and building a team, or I guess keeping a team, running? And then what's the most challenging thing that you've come or had to deal with over your, 50 years plus of experience when it comes to team building?
Oh, wow, Daniel. It's going to be another long answer, buddy.
Hey, we got time, man. I don't mind. Okay. I like to talk. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. You like to listen. My wife doesn't listen to my own podcast because we've been together for 22 years now, and she figured I would have stopped talking by now, but oh well, she's wrong.
Yeah.
But let's take a step backwards into team building. What motivated me to get into team building? To add to my resume, I've actually written a book, and it's going to be released in January through Amazon, Kindle, all the big names, Barnes & Nobles. And the title of that book is Onward Buttercups, and it's actually specifically about team building. I am building a website where you can actually go from the book to QR codes to my website and buy courses on building your own team. Then on top of that, I'm building an app so that you can go to your phone and determine what type of team member you're playing with. There's 16 distinct different personality types. And if I figure if someone in the workplace can go in and take a look at someone they're dealing with for the first time, take some of their characteristics, put it into the phone app, and then get back an answer as to what type of person you're dealing with, it should make a lot less stress within the workplace, right? But going back to your question, what's the number one thing you could do to build a team is put yourself out there and embrace everybody with love and openness. Now that sounds pretty dreamy, really, if you get right into it. At the end of the day, it's same as our first encounter yesterday. I put out what I wanted to receive from Daniel. I put out good vibes. I put out who I really am. I looked you straight in the eye, even though we're just at FaceTime Live. You're in Texas. I'm in Fort McMurray, Alberta. And for those in your listening audience, if you go to Montana and you go north of Billings, cross over in the Canadian highways, and you go to the end of the highway where it starts onto ice roads, and you're another 250K from Santa's place, that's where I work. So I'm like 600 miles above Billings, Montana. So yesterday, I started our relationship off in a working relationship or a love relationship, a relationship's relationship. And I come to Daniel with love and openness. And I said, hey, Daniel, man, what's your podcast all about, buddy? I got a podcast going too. And how can I help you? So number one, I come at it with an openness. Number two, I listen to understand. So when we spoke yesterday and we speak today, well, I'm doing most of the talking, but when you speak, I listen to understand. And 90% of people will listen to respond, right?
For sure.
Yeah, it's very important to understand what Daniel's about. It's important to understand what Maynard's about. You know what? When you go into any team environment, it's very important to understand what your team members about. And if you're running that team, if you're supervising that team and leading that team, it's critical to know what every team member is about. And this is developing relationships one on one. The old adage, when I grew up, man, like, man, in the Navy, you just did as you're told. And when I got out, I had a really hard transition into civilian life. I spent 4.5 years in the Navy's Naval Weapons Tech. I've been an Army cadet. I've been in the militia. I've been in the Navy. So basically, 10 to 12 years of my life, I was in the military type of configuration. My dad was in the Merchant Marine, and he always spoke highly of the military. So I jumped right on that bandwagon, and we try to emulate our fathers and our mothers. Nothing wrong with that. So when I got out of the service, when I got out of the military, hard transition because I thought everybody fought the same way I did. And I was taught to be part of a team and the mission being more important to myself. That's military ideology. A sacrifice is nothing too much to ask to accomplish a mission. I got out of the Navy with. When I went to Civvy Street, then I didn't realize it was dog eat dog. And that's partial motivation to the app where people can see what type of person you're dealing with before they find out the hard way. Hopefully we'll get that launched by June. Moving forward from there, in through every industry, when I started my own auto shop, glass shop in New Brunswick, I didn't know how to build a team. I knew the pleasure a team brought me. I learned how to motivate people, but I didn't understand how a team was constructed. Move forward, come to Fort McMurray, back in the dealership environment. That's very competitive. So there's not a lot of teamwork there. It's you're a better technician or I'm a better technician. And if I can't do the job, you're going to do the job and take my paycheck. That's the way a dealership works. From there, I moved into the mining sector, which is teamwork, but none of the mines up here focused on team building or creating a team or maintaining a team, right? Mm-hmm. And through all the things I've done, ski patrol thing, the race car thing, the ski patrol, race car, that's all voluntary work. Let's give back to community and stuff. The only organization that had any type of training or formal training was the 3-day event within the Canadian Ski Patrol system, where we actually went to a hotel in Vermont and Edmonton, and we spent 3 days doing a workshop on different generations and how we deal with those people. And the magic is the Canadian Ski Patrol, it's a volunteer organization. So as a patrol leader within that organization, I need to know what motivates a guy that might be a doctor. My next patroller might be a lawyer. The next one might be a teacher's aide, and the next one might be a housewife, right?
Right.
One might be a millennial. One might be a senior, such as myself. So that was the only organization that showed me how to communicate amongst different generations, but it didn't really show me how to form a team, but it showed me how to communicate to the team. Does that make sense?
For sure. Yes, sir.
Move forward in through my career within the mining industry, got into middle management in the mining oil company, made stupid money, like making hockey bags of money. It's just, I'd go in the corner and look at my pay stub and I'd laugh because I wasn't worth that much. This is great, right? So make hockey bags of money, but a lot of treachery in the middle management. And if someone thought you were doing well at your job, the next objective was to get your job. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of Ides of March within that type of structure, but I was more focused on building a team to rebuild mining shovels. So these mining shovels, they come down on regular intervals at 24 months, 36 months, so on, and they have major operations or major components replaced to them. Some components are like a swing bearing is $1 million component. It takes a week to put it in. You have to split the shovel part. I need teams around the clock, a team of 6 to do this. Everything has to be organized. Well, if I get a lead guy on one team that gets upset and doesn't want to work for you, guess what you got? You get a $35 million piece of junk sitting on a piece of ground until you can get it back together in the dig and filling trucks. So I did a lot of reading and self-educated onto what makes a team, what builds a team. And then I wrote my own book, which is Onward Buttercups, and that'll be coming to market, like I said, in January. And what's called from there, start building teams. When I left, here's what's really cool. This is what started the podcast. So when I left the mining industry, my old supervisor found out I was up for grads, and he brought me into a component rebuild shop in Edmonton. I worked with Keith for a year down there. The money wasn't as good as the oil sands, but I really get immersed into a team there where I had a lot of young guys looking up towards me and stuff like that. And we formed a real good team naturally without even trying. It was not as good as a military team, but it was a good team. Come back up north, and then the toxicity of the mine sites ensued again. I worked within teams, so it's always been a struggle. Like when you're making $200,000 and $300,000 a year, we're talking some big wages here. Guys aren't happy. Like, how can you work for $250,000 a year? You work 14 days on, 14 days off, and you're not happy. Can you imagine that?
Mm.
Get your head around that. You work half a year for $250,000 and you're not happy. So when you go into the mechanics of a team, you have to say, okay, well, what drives the mechanics of that team? What is it? And you know what? Like any complicated piece of machinery, is complex yet simple. People are the key to any team. And if you want good results, you put out good results. You want good vibrations, you put out good vibrations. So if I came to your podcast, which I love the name of, tell the name for everybody.
If this mic could talk.
If this mic could talk, eh? I love that. That's a pretty clever name.
Thank you.
Is what's called is if I came to you with the attitude yesterday of taking from you, how do you think our first encounter would have went?
If you had an attitude of taking from me, like in a negative way, like just it would have, probably wouldn't have been good because I think it would come off like more selfish, just taking instead of
So emotionally, with that would have been an insult and kind of hurt you, even though without you saying to me, Maynard, that's rude, that's ignorant. You would have, and that's only natural to be insulted.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't respect your position as a person, didn't respect your position as a podcaster. You've got a podcaster, and you've got a podcast, and I've got a podcast. My podcast is called Gears of Trust. We have different topic lines. My podcast focuses primarily on mechanics and tradesmen within the oil sands and heavy duty world. Your podcast is kind of an open conversation format. Am I correct?
Correct.
Correct. So you're not restricted by any specific conversation. So if I was just looking to get here to say, oh, geez, well, I'll get Daniel on my podcast as a guest, that's kind of a sole purpose for me. Does that make sense?
Correct.
If we had approached each other and we belong in a podcast group on Facebook together, that's how we initially met, is if I had to come at that on Facebook, I saw some of the comments on your post where people were telling you to do this and do that, do this and do that. I was insulted by their statements within that group. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing if you're building a team. If I'm building a team, Daniel, I'm building a relationship, and I'm building a relationship with you. So you're in Texas. I'm in Northern Canada. Guess what? Next time you're in hometown of Texas, I'm going to look Daniel up. Say, hey, let's go for a beer. Let's go for an ice cream. Let's go for a coffee. Right?
Yes, sir.
Because relationships will propel you farther through life than anything else. I've always advocated to people, there's two ways to get ahead. You can help others and they'll push you forward, or you can pull others back. And it's your choice what you do. I've pushed as many people as I can. It's ironic now that I started my podcast 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. I'm in 4 countries. I checked my Buzzsprout. I'm in 4 countries. I'm in Finland. I'm in Australia. I'm in US and Canada already. Like, I don't know how the hell I got Finland. I haven't got a clue. But I've got to go looking through my connections and relationships over the years to find out who's listening to me over there. It's really amazing. If I'm building a team, so ironically, this should be my last physical job that I do. And I'm transitioning my life from being a mechanic to building teams. And my book's going to have QR codes where you can go to the website, buy courses from me, or even use me as a consultation service, right? Where I can help you build your teams. It'll cost you, but it's not going to be free. But I'm going to transition to that. I'm writing books. I've written one's going at publisher right now. We're just creating the author website for that. Then that will be released. I've got a second follow-up book in behind that, and I've created 7 more books. They're mini books that work along with my website, and they'll be converted into videos. But at the end of the day, People is what it's all about. When you look at a big team, if I look at a team and I have mechanics, so I'm the senior dog on any crew. So I'll have guys with 2 years experience. I'll have guys with 10 years experience, 5 years experience, half a year experience, and some guys, very few as much as me, like with 30 and 40 years of game. Those guys that come to me as a leader, the first thing I do is I find out who my people are. And Daniel, I'll tell you, everyone has something that they can do that's really unique and you is special. Once you find out what everybody can do, then you'll find out, well, this guy can throw rocks at airplanes better than this guy. This guy can trap wolves, and this guy can make roads, and this guy can build houses. So if you put all the team together, the whole team as a group can do a multiple number of things and accomplish them rather effectively. If I want everybody to do one thing, I'm not harnessing the power of that team. I'm not empowering those guys. So I leave them show me what they have, and I leave them work with them where they want to work. Does that make sense?
Correct.
So if I can focus somebody, he's good on electrical diagnosis, why the hell would I get him blowing a track off a shovel when I can get him chasing an electrical problem? He's getting more personal satisfaction out of the electrical problem than he will out of a mechanical issue. The same token, if I got a guy that's 7'2" and he can swing a 20-pound hammer overhead, and he's not going to fit inside an electrical cabinet, why would I put him inside the electrical cabinet? So in a simple mathematical equation, I tell that to all the guys I work with. It's simple as this. Everybody's trying to get the same job done, right? So if we have 1 and 9 is 10, 5 and 5 is 10, 6 and 4 is 10, 3 and 7 is 10, 2 and 8 is 10, 0 and 10 is 10, right? It's all 10 in the end. Different ways to get to there, but none of them wrong. So that's the key to building a team, is understanding that just because it's not my way doesn't mean it's the wrong way, and empowering those people to bring their knowledge to the forefront. And when they do that, then you wind up with those special teams that you see few and far between.
I like that. I assume with you being into mechanic work over the last 50 years, are you into cars?
Yeah, I'm a dual ticket technician.
Okay.
I'm an automotive service technician and heavy duty off-road technician. Both licensed.
Dope. I'm gonna give you 3 cars, random 3 cars that I picked on my own. You tell me the one car of those 3 you would pick and why. The 3 cars are Chevy Camaro, a Corvette Stingray, and a Ford Mustang.
Oh man, well, bye-bye on the Mustang. I would go to the Camaro. Because of ease of diagnosis, depending on what generation. If you're going to go to a Corvette, in the latter 5 years, they've become too sophisticated. When you say Chevy Camaro, that defines the timeline of 1987. I think it's completion of the initial Camaro line. Then they moved into the newer platforms, into the 8 that came out with the new reconfigured Camaro. That first gen of those Camaros for the first 3 or 4 years were pretty good. When you move into the evolution into the 2016 and above, there's a lot of hidden nightmares within the electronic control and the interface systems on those vehicles. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. And they can be god awfully costly to repair, right? Like it can be pretty substantial. What are you looking for? Recreational purposes or a daily drive?
I was really just thinking for your own personal preference. If you had to drive the car, which one would you pick? So you said Camaro.
I'm a Chevy Avalanche guy, buddy, because it's always snowy. It's minus 25 out here right now.
Ooh, nah, I can't do it. Nah.
Yeah, can't. It's down to minus 29 tonight. I love my Chevy Avalanche. I run a bass boat. I fished professionally in 2018 through Montana, Vegas, or Arizona, California on the FLW series and the Costa series. And yeah, I run with the Chevy Avalanche. It's the old saying, eat shit, 2 billion flies, can't be wrong. So when I need my Chevy Diag out of town, if I go to Jacksonville, Florida, if I go to Billings, Montana, if I go to Swift Current, Saskatchewan, guess what? The local garage guy is going to know how to deal with a small block Chevy. I'm going to be able to get parts for it pretty quickly because it's a Chevy. There's millions and millions of them around. If I'm towing with Maserati, what do you think? How do you think I'm going to make out in Bangor, Maine? Probably not that good, right? Because a lot of guys in Bangor, Maine probably couldn't spell Maserati, let alone tell you what's wrong with it. So there's safety in the domestic 3. General Motors, they're out of the States. solid product throughout the years. Any of the big three manufacturers right now get a little carried away with, their engineering. And too many controls, as far as I'm concerned. I'm old school. Too many controls from outside. If you spend $100,000 on a vehicle, I don't believe you should have to pay a subscription for your heated seats. I don't believe you should pay a subscription for your FM radio. I don't believe you should pay a prescription for jack squat. Number two, I don't think they should have the power to shut off your vehicle when they want to. Right? So the newer type of systems, you have that type of interface within dealer networks. So if I'm doing diagnosis on a 2021 Dodge Ram, if we run our service trucks, and I do a lot of diag on our own service trucks because it's quicker than us getting into town to get it fixed. And in order for me to scan, to go in and check out a code on a Dodge service truck, I need to have an account with Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, which is Stellantis. Then I have to pay a yearly rate for access to technical information from them. And then if I scan one of their vehicles to get past their security gateway module, I have to pay a service fee. I think it's 50 US for me to be able to scan their vehicle. Then when I scan it, I have to be connected to Wi-Fi so FCA or Fiat Chrysler Automobiles can see what I'm doing inside. If I have to reconfigure a module, if I put a new module in, say for heater control or brake controller, I have to buy the files to put into those from Stellantis or FCA, then install them into the. So yeah, it's pure grief. It takes a lot of frustration, puts it on a technician, and it takes a lot of money out of your pocket.
We're gonna play this game. I call it the one-word game. So I wrote down a list of just keywords and phrases and things based on things that we talked about yesterday and today. I'm gonna say a word, and you give me one word only that you would associate with that word, or something that makes you think, something that word makes you think about. It's just a little fun game I created, but you'll say one word that you associate or makes you think about something that crosses your mind. I say that one word, and you can only give me one word. So the first word is oil.
Sands.
Okay. Next word, wrench, like the tool.
Good wrench.
Okay. Snow.
Canada.
Okay. That's good. I got you. Next one, team building.
Me.
Me. I like. Hey.
Me.
I like that. Next one, military.
Navy.
Okay. Next one, marriage.
Oh.
I see you.
Wow, okay. Thank you. That's
I see you pausing now.
Yeah. Marriage, good.
Okay. Yeah. Next one, wife.
A love.
Yeah. Love. Okay. Yep. Next one, husband.
Punishment. That's what comes to mind.
Got you. Next one, lunch break.
Laughs.
Podcasting.
Fun.
Next one, church.
Should go. Yeah.
I got you. Next one, Canada.
Fucked. It's done. It's screwed. We're bad. It's bad up here, man.
I got you. Next one, USA.
Love it.
Okay. Next one, hockey.
Fun.
Okay. Next one, happiness.
Me.
Next one, energy. Free. Next one, children. Love. Next one, adoption.
Future.
I like to always say children are the future for sure. Future. Next word, trust.
Earned.
Ooh, I like that. Next one, gas.
Expensive.
Let me see. Next one, curse words.
Normal.
I feel you for sure.
I'm a mechanic. We use the F word as a comma.
Next one, Chevy. Trusty.
Yeah.
Next one, home.
Safe.
Okay. Next one, food.
Poison.
Can you explain? You gotta explain that one real quick. Explain that one.
Wow. Food is our evil, man. It causes a lot of health problems by not eating right. And we have so many delicacies and sweets and stuff. That sugar is poison, man. It's bad. I injured myself, February of last year, I tore out a cartilage in the calf working on a shovel out in the field. I'm 5'5" tall, and I was 235.6 pounds.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, Santa Claus did not fit down all the chimneys anymore. Okay,
Wow.
I'm just telling you, Santa didn't fit. And through diet alone, I'm down to 175, 176 range through a carnivore diet.
Wow. This is from last year to this year?
Yeah, it'll be a year in February. So I peeled off what, 50 pounds, 65 pounds.
That's
Yeah,
dope. I
and
heard.
a lot of health issues. I was hospitalized with COVID in 2021, I think, or whatever it was. I had a lot of problems with muscles, a long recovery from that. And food, which I thought was a comfort, was actually creating more issues. And a lot of inflammation from sweets and sugars. My wife, she's a beautiful cook, beautiful baker, pure poison. She's like the high way to kill a guy is through his tummy too, right? Know what I mean?
Mhm.
So too much weight causes a lot of problems. And the problem is with our foods, they're laced with so much sugar. We're just so many refined processed foods. If you want to buy food, buy from the outside of your grocery store. Those are your natural whole core foods. If you move into the center of the grocery store and your center aisles, that's where your processed foods are, and that's where your problems begin.
Mm. I definitely know that for sure.
Yeah,
Okay, next one, clothing.
not fussy. I'm not fussy. Like
Okay.
I'll wear jeans and t-shirt all the time. I'm not a. I don't get hung up on clothing.
Okay. Next, this is still a one word game. Next one, jackets.
Jackets, a necessity.
I know, negative 25. That,
Yeah, that's a
get three
necessity,
of
man.
them. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
critical, yeah.
Yeah, gotta
That's
have
a
those.
necessity.
I,
I've seen extremes, man. I've seen guys so I work for an Australian company called Maynard, and they provide mechanics throughout North America for mine sites and stuff.
mhm.
I've seen Aussies and Kiwis come up here and be freezing in September. The first mine I worked at for any length of time was CNRL. And I worked with two Australian guys, Nick Gant, he's back in Oz now, and Nigel Clydesdale. These guys at minus 35, minus 40 were wearing t-shirts, a hoodie under the coveralls, and like his wet pants. These guys didn't run with thermals or anything. And the only other time I saw another guy like that was a guy at Mammoet, the crane company. Like that guy, their service advisor there, he'd run around with shorts and a t-shirt in February.
Mm,
Like it's crazy, crazy.
they gave me a headache
So
even thinking about that. That's crazy.
yeah, so two Australian guys I think were the toughest I've ever seen for the cold. Like, just love the cold. Myself, I'm on okay. I'm good down to minus 35. It starts to get a little aggravating.
Mm.
When you get into the 40s and 50s, it gets just stupid. It's hard to do everything. But I beat it later. So tomorrow, like I start night shift tomorrow night, and tomorrow night's going to be minus 24 overnight with winds of say 20k or whatever. So a wind chill into the 30s.
Mm-mm.
I will tomorrow night. I'll run with a Milwaukee heated vest, a
Mm.
hoodie, and a pair of coveralls, and the track pants underneath. And that's it. Minus 25, minus 30 range. So.
Mm-mm. You said that those are two of the strongest guys you know. If that's strong, I'd be weak. I got if it listen when it gets to 69 degrees, I'm looking for a light jacket. I can't do cold at all. Almost done with the one word game. Next one, Ford.
Ford sucks.
I knew you gonna say that.
I come up to a Ford dealership here in 2002, and I don't like Ford. I don't like their engineering. Their engineering is really ignorant. It makes it hard on the customer.
Mm. Next one, water.
Water. I love it.
Love
Navy.
it.
Swim. I learned how to swim in the Navy. Yeah, love it.
Mm. Next one, Christmas.
Christmas. Family.
Family. Ooh, it's a good one.
Love.
Good one.
Yeah. Family and
Next
love.
one, New Year's.
New Year's. Drunks.
Next one, dieting.
Dieting. Necessary.
Necessary. That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Next one, bald head.
Bald head. That's me.
I knew you were gonna say me. I knew you were gonna say me. Hobby.
Hobby? My hobby is podcasting now.
Podcast. So I wanted to ask you a few more questions. So I'm gonna ask you this random question I thought about when you were talking earlier about team building, which, by the way, I'm glad we were recording this because I'm able to go back and hear the things you said, because I think the things you broke down when it comes to team building are very important for me. I'm all about team. I always tell people all the time, like, one team, one dream, or stuff like that, just to kind of make everybody have that mindset. And so think of all the celebrities you know in your lifetime, or that you've seen, heard on TV, whatever, all celebrities that you know of. If you had to build a team of 5 people, dead or alive, only celebrities, for whatever from whatever field. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the mechanic world. Just 5 celebrities dead or alive that you would use right now to build a team, and you would be the sixth. Who would those 5 celebrities be? And I'll give mine as afterwards as well.
Oh, wow. For team players, I would go to, I don't, I'm not impressed by any of the elite in Hollywood, not by one stretched imagination. I'm going to go to hockey where I'd like to say Bobby Orr of the Boston Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say Wayne Gretzky, greatest of all time.
I knew you were gonna say Wayne Great.
Yeah, you knew that was coming. I'm
Yeah.
Canadian, buddy. I'm pure Canadian. I would say I'd have Mike Bossy on my team too. Connor McDavid. I'd have him off the Edmonton Oilers. And I like Ron Hextall for a goaltender. How many guys have I get so far?
But that's
Like
5. Bobby
5?
Orr, Wayne Gretzky, Mike Bossy, Connor McDavid, and then
Ron Hextall.
Juan Hesco.
Ron Hextall. He was with the Philadelphia Flyers. He was
Okay.
an extremely aggressive goaltender. Really.
So mine, I'm gonna look him up for sure. If I'm gonna use the same format you use, all athletes. So I'm gonna give each person. I'm gonna give a little small reason why. So I'm gonna take LeBron James. I think I'm taking LeBron James because as great as he is still a big time teammate. His whole aura of who he's been since he's got in the league has always been about team. Like, how can I make the team better, not just about myself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Another person who I think has the same aura around him, but he has a little more oomph about him is Tom Brady. Tom Brady is another athlete who is all about winning. He'll do whatever he can for the team, but he also has a little more feistiness to him that I like. Speaking of feistiness, I think this person right here is going to have the most feistiness on my team. He's just a dog in every sense. Michael Jordan, got to have him.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get his most clone-like person, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, for sure. And I think to finish it off, I'm going to go. That's all basketball. That's crazy. I got one football player. I got Tom Brady. I'm gonna go to another. You know what? I'm gonna go to a baseball player. I'm gonna use this next person right here. I've always said this baseball player has one of the cleanest images I've ever seen of any professional athlete. You never really heard any scandal. You never heard anything. And I think this person will be on my team because he'll be able to balance out everything and keep everybody kind of honed in. And that's gonna be Derek Jeter. There we go. Derek Jeter.
Oh,
Derek
Jeter. Yeah.
That guy, he's going to kind of create balance on my team and make sure everybody is, moving accordingly as we get the goal taken care of. So I'm gonna say Derek Jeter. I want to ask you a question. So, Maynard, you're Canadian, natural Canadian. And the word you used when I said USA, you said love it. So I want to ask you, like, what is the biggest difference between Canada and USA? If you had to think of one or two differences, what do you like and dislike about Canada and USA?
What do I like about USA?
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, it's what a lot of people don't like about the USA. And what I like about USA, the people in general are very confident, and they are very steadfast in their beliefs and committed to their country.
I like that for sure.
Yeah, they are very well. Like my first time at Pearl Harbor, we broke down in Pearl Harbor, and it was December 7th. So it's December 7th in Pearl, 8 a.m. every morning. There's 10 moments of silence.
Mm-hmm.
And at 8 a.m., when the bell struck throughout the dock area at Pearl, the entire place came right to a standstill. Hats went over their hearts, and everybody stayed perfectly still for 10 minutes. And it's awe-inspiring, actually, to watch that commitment and that respect, that dedication to country that you find nowhere else. And some people take it as arrogance, like American travelers are arrogant. I don't think Americans are arrogant as much as they are so happy and so in love with their country that they are very proud to scream the accolades of USA throughout the planet. That's not necessarily received the same by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So the American people are very confident people, and they're very accomplished as well, and they should be proud to be so. So that's what impresses me about the US of A. What does not impress me in the USA is it almost fell trapped to the same trap that Canada's in right now, and that's where your leaders were involved in the World Economic Forum, and they're They're subscribing to an agenda from an outside body from the US of A. Yeah, you're a new president, these guys elected. He's not a diplomat. He's he's a rat catcher. You ever hire a rat catcher to get rid of rats in a household that's infested? You need a guy to do the job, and you can hire somebody from the ballet, but he's probably not going to do it. But you're going to hire this old cranky guy that swears a lot, his pants hanging down, he's crack his ass all the time, but he can get the job done. That's where these guys are at right now. Then let's take a look at Canada. What do I like about Canada? Canada, the people are so very, very giving. They're very, very outreached. They're very genuine. That makes sense? And in a lot of cases throughout Canada, the people wear their hearts on their sleeves. And I love rural USA because the people are so good in rural USA. The people in high density populations, be it Canada or US, are somewhat more seclusive and not quite as outgoing, but that's what their environment has taught them to be. What I hate about Canada is that our leadership get involved with the World Economic Forum, and their policies are being induced into Canada. We've got censorship bills coming down. And I'm getting prepared to get the fuck out of Canada. I'll tell you right now. If we don't get rid of that leader we have right now by October next year, I'm off to Costa Rica. I'm gone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Canada's going the way of Venezuela. If you take a look into the history of Venezuela, you can understand what happened to Canada. And we've got a whole bunch of turmoil in Ottawa right now, very suspect. But if it brings a change of government, that's exactly what we need. If we don't get a change of government, Canada's gone. It is lost. It will be as Venezuela is. So there's no sense of staying around, in all honesty. The people, ironically, regardless of the path the U.S. almost went down, and past Canada is still on. When you get right down to it, Daniel, the people of those countries, not the elite of the country, are so good of heart. And you know what's important to those people? Their family, their health, their well-being. Monetary things don't place very high with the little guy. Right now, I'm going to say you the little guy, me the little guy. What makes my heart tinker is I've helped somebody today. What makes my heart tinker is my kids are healthy, my wife's healthy, right? And I take things from there. I found that in the mining game too. So when I moved into the higher levels of management, it wasn't about the good of the team. It was truly about the good of myself. And if I could execute a team to make myself, I knew a couple of managers that were levels above me that would find fault in anybody. When we get down to the little people in the day-to-day lives, like Daniel Jones or Maynard, our families are important. Our friendships are important. Our relationships are important. When we move into the elite levels, and there's some pretty extreme elite levels, especially more predominant so in the U.S., that are actually pure evil. They are there for themselves, and we are merely just articles, chattels. We are instruments of their wish. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So in Canada, we have birth certificates. Do you know why you have a serial number on the back of your birth certificate? I do. The reason we have birth certificate numbers is we are a chattel of the country of Canada. And they take that serial number and say, it's like assets. You go to the bank to borrow money, and you say, what do you have for assets? Well, I've got a car, a truck, I've got a house, I got a snowmobile, I got this, I got same thing when I go to the World Monetary Fund to borrow as the country of Canada. What do you have? I have X number of Canadians at this age group that can generate this much money in taxes, and this much money in this, and this much money. So we are only a means of creating income for the government. Ironically. Yeah, it's pretty sad. But do I love the USA? Yeah. These guys are ballsy. Sometimes you piss people off, and sometimes you have to do that, right? But yeah, it's very, very good. Mind you, the truckers we had here in Canada the other year, ballsy, did the right thing, but you saw what happened to that. I don't know if you're fully apprised of that, but they were squashed very quickly by the government of the day, where they pulled up the Emergency Measures Act and then froze everybody's bank accounts, seized their assets, everything. And there's a problem with the digital world then. Same as what I was talking about digital cars. So when you buy a 2018 and newer, the manufacturer can shut down your vehicle, right? Whose possession is that? Is that your car? Is that still their car? and you're just renting it.
Mm.
You see the problem? So,
Yes, sir.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir.
Got on a little bit of a rant there. I don't
No,
want to
it's
go
all,
on.
it's all good. I like the conversation. So I had 2 more questions for you. As I was telling you yesterday, I have this slogan. I always say sophisticated randomness, a bunch of random conversation pieces. And so 2 questions. You have to get rid of one of these transportation methods forever. There's no added variables. If you had to get rid of one right now, would you get rid of cars, airplanes, or boats?
Airplanes.
Airplanes. Okay.
Airplanes.
I don't know why. I probably should have known this. I thought you were going to say cars for some reason. I thought you said airplanes.
You know what I like about cars? I get to stop, fuel up, and meet people.
Mm.
And I met Elvis Presley on a toll bridge outside of Chicago when I went. My friends and I, we went from Edmonton to Tennessee to pick up some trailers he had bought, and we did like a 3-day road trip, like out of the movies. And we come up to this one booth where you had to pay. Buddy was dressed up like Elvis.
Mm.
You don't get details like that when you're flying, my friend. You get to
I hear
fly
that.
over stage and stuff. And every time I stop and fuel with a bass boat, because they're pretty sweet looking ride, I always get people come out of the woodwork asking about the bass boat, and ask about this and ask about that. Well, they're asking about that. You know what I'm doing? I'm asking about them. So the interstate's cool. It saves you time. But man, if you want to find out what America's like, take the fucking back roads, buddy.
Mm.
And if you want to find out what Canada's like, take the back roads and meet the people. And I'm 65 years of age, Daniel, and people. I just love people. So air travel right now sucks because it's all about control and dominance. It's a little bit about travel. The way I see American Airlines and American Delta and so on, for the stories I see on social media of them throwing people off of airplanes over minuscule things, the power without knowledge that they have, right? No wisdom, power and no wisdom, incompassionate, no compassion whatsoever. And yeah, it's not like I traveled for a company Christmas party the other week.
Mm-hmm.
My company that I work for is exceptional. They flew my wife and I down to Calgary, which is a 2-hour flight each way, put us up in the hotel, not just for a company Christmas party. And when I got on the plane, like I think prior to COVID was 2018, I think is the last time I did any substantial amount of flying. And then we did the COVID game and all that stuff. And the demeanor of the passenger boarding, it was almost like sheep being herded into a cattle car.
Mm.
The last time I traveled for any length of time, we went to Watuco and I took the wife and kids away. And we hopped on a WestJet flight out of Calgary. It was almost a festival atmosphere within the plane. Fast forward 6 years' time, after the great things have happened here in Canada, and there's no way to explain it. It's just like people are subdued. They're very quiet. They don't comment. They just move in their position, sit in their seat, and they're almost scared to look around. And yeah, it's not a good way to travel. So
I hear you.
My favorite way to travel is by car. Even though I'm a mechanic, it's more expensive. It's more time consuming, but you know what? I meet some fantastic people on the way.
I definitely can tell that, in our interactions yesterday and even in this podcasting experience together, like you're definitely a people person. I think that's an amazing thing about you, beautiful spirit and soul for sure. My last question to you is, yesterday when we spoke, you had spoke so eloquently about just your wife, your timeline and just being married. When we played the 1-word game earlier and I said wife, you said, love. And so there's a famous phrase, and I've never asked anybody this question, but I just prompted to ask you. There's a very famous phrase that says, happy wife, happy life. I want you to give me your opinion about that phrase and, just like if you believe it's true, like just what's your opinion about it? Because I think a lot of men, and you have a lot of, again, experience even with marriage. A lot of men, when they hear that phrase nowadays, you have a split room. You have some men who feel like, oh yeah, happy wife, happy life. And you have other men like myself, guilty as charged, who feel like I need to be happy too. And so what's your thoughts on that phrase?
Well, complicated subject. I'm gonna take a drink, my friend.
It's your little sippy sip. I understand. You know what I'm saying?
Happy wife, happy life. There's a lot to that. It's a very, very, very powerful statement, very true statement. But it's not just happy wife, it's happy hubby, happy life.
Mm.
So it's not a one thing. That's a quick measurement. So if you ensure you have a happy wife and you're not dealing with your own self happiness, it's going to fail. So this is going to sound pretty misogynistic, but guys in a relationship have to lead. Just that's just the way it is. We
Understand.
are provider, we are hunters. We have done that for millennia. If a woman is looking to get in a relationship with you to control you, then that's not even the right reason for a relationship. And if I'm looking to get in a relationship to control a woman, that's not the right reason to get in a relationship. A relationship's a partnership.
Mm.
So Debbie and I have been together. Let's jump into my first marriage. So I'm 22 years of age in the Navy. Met this lady, a single mom, 3 kids. What's called a family orientated guy. First time I had any wild sex as a young fella, really, in all honesty. So I thought that was love. So I got married, adopted the 3 kids. Then, as I got married and we spent the next 20 years, it was learning what each other was like. And for 20 years, I sacrificed for the kids. I love the kids, and to this day, I love the kids. I had a lot of fun watching kids grow up. And I had good times with my ex-wife. When the kids started to mature and become teenagers and stuff, then we had to actually find out what the people who we were. What people we were. Hang on a sec. Oliver, come. I got a dog that wants to chase this. There we go. He'll be good for 5 minutes. So then we had to figure out what we were about and what we liked and if we did like. And you know what? After that, I found out that my first wife wasn't happy unless she was unhappy. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
She got the most satisfaction about complaining about what she didn't have and what she didn't like and who she didn't like. And everybody was this and everybody was that and everything was this and everything was that. Daniel, you have flaws. I have flaws. She has flaws. We all have flaws. So that's part of team building too, is that we have to accept people for what they bring to the table. It might not be what we want and what we think, but you know what? That's who they are, what they are, and we have to respect that. So within that first relationship, I made things work and I self-sacrificed to ensure that stayed together as a family unit. When I came to the conclusion we weren't going any farther down this road and I couldn't spend my next 20, 30, 40 years like that, I called it quits. I just thought one day, and there was no infidelity issues or anything, I just said, I can't do this anymore. I don't like you, let alone love you. I'm moving on. And I give her everything. I give her the house. I give the boys the business. I came to Fort McMurray, 2 garbage bags of clothes, 93 Chevy Blazer, U-Haul trailer, and a toolbox.
And this was because of the constant negativity of just seeming unhappy. You know what I'm saying?
She didn't like anybody. She didn't like life. She just was not a happy person. I could do everything under the sun to make her happy, Daniel, but that's not what she wanted. She wanted to be unhappy. I don't know if she ever squared her act away or not, but at the end of the day, I couldn't do anything for her. So I declared bankruptcy. I give her the house. I give the boys the business, and I came out west. Just total break, total transition. Come out here, top producer at a car dealership. Get raped there financially by the dealer principal. That's another. End of the day, I'm working at an independent garage, and the lady at the front counter set me up with a date with her sister. And here we are. This is Debbie 22 years later. Debbie she comes from Newfoundland, which is way out past the state of Maine. She loves her kids. She loves her grandkids. She loves cooking for people to make them happy. Part of my problems when the girls grew up and they got their own places and they moved out and it's just Debbie and I at home, I tried to eat for the absent people because Debbie doesn't know how to cook for 2 people. I'm the worker. She's the homebody. So I keep trying to eat all the food she's cooking, and that didn't work out well. But for her to be happy, I need to listen and say, what are your needs? Debbie's needs are social interaction with people. She goes to the grocery store to get a jug of milk. It takes her 2 hours. You know why? She stops in the grocery store. Oh, hey, how are you? How are the kids? Da, 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 da. How are you? Da, 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 da. And she talks to everybody. It's where she was the mayor. She likes people. So what am I to do? Impose I don't want you to talk to people. Absolutely not. Because you know what? That brings her satisfaction of talking to people. She likes the social interaction. I have to accept her for what she is. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Cooking. So that sounds pretty misogynistic of me cooking, eh? Well, I'll tell you a story. So Debbie and I first got together. I was working at Leo Roberts, which is 45 minutes north of my house. So I would leave work and get home. And then I'd say, honey, what's for dinner? She said, well, it's in the microwave. And I said, well, okay, honey, I'll heat it up. She said, well, why don't you call me? I said, what are you talking about? She said, why don't you call me when you leave? And I said, well, it's 45 minutes, no big deal. I commute it every day. And she says, well, what do you need me for? I, she said, well, if you call me, I'll have your supper ready on the table for you. I said, honey, you don't have to. She said, I want to. So what did I do? I leave her do what she wants to do because it brings personal satisfaction to her. Does that make sense? And I'm very appreciative of it. And you know, when she's working right now and stuff like that, I'm usually cooking something up for her.
Yes, sir.
So it goes, but she doesn't ask me to. She likes it, but she doesn't ask me to. But I don't deny what makes her feel like a woman. So if FaceTime and the grandkids is what she likes to do, great. If FaceTime the kids is what she likes to do, great. If she wants to go fishing with me, I'm good with that. But I don't impose on her what I think would make her happy. I communicate, I listen with her, I listen to her to understand. Once you understand, then you will know what to do. But in the same token, I need to communicate to her that, okay, well, here's what I'd like to do. So if you saw my office right here, right now, I have a downstairs office. And on the other side of this wall, there's a great big knitting room with 7 sewing machines. Debbie likes to knit. So, or not knit, quilt. She likes to quilt. So she makes these bold cozy. So if someone's got a little event come, oh, they're having a baby, I'll make some bibs and I'll make this. She gets great satisfaction out of giving her friends gifts that she makes by hand. There's nothing wrong with that. But that being said, her being happy in that capacity makes me happy. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And not by creating, I think, something she should be, but just experiencing her for the person that she is. She's a very giving person. I'm very lucky to have her in my life. Happy wife, happy life, absolutely. But it's not forced. I have to understand who I'm living with first, or I've entered that relationship with. So if Daniel and Maynard want to be friends, I have to listen to what you need to make your world good. You listen to what I need to make my world good. And guess what? We find that happy medium and we exchange our stories, our laughs, or whatever to create that relationship that we have, Daniel. So the relationship we have today is the start of a relationship. I don't know how long it's going to be for. It might be for a month, a year, it might be 10 years, it might be 20 years. We might be laughing about this interview. But it all starts with me listening and you listening. And then we move forward from there. Because once we understand the other, then we can move forward so much better. Does that make sense? That's my spin on happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. And I think that the last thing you said, listening, I think it ties into what you were saying earlier. You said that unfortunately people listen with the intent of responding instead of the intent of hearing what the other person's saying. And so when you broke it down so eloquently what you just did, like I said before I even asked you that question, I just love your spirit. And the way you present yourself is just very inviting. And I think for me, I'm saying I needed to hear what you were saying. And I also look at 2 things that are just glaring in front of me. Like I can see them right here. One, the first wife, how just she constantly was just not happy and, just negative, and that just pushed you away. And then the other, like where you were able to, because I think both you and her had to evolve because you got married so young, but evolve into, and I learned this as an educator 2 years ago. I didn't even know this until I learned it when the counselor told us this. The human brain doesn't even stop developing until you're 25, which means even at 22, you were still developing as a human. And so there were things that you both didn't understand. So to then you see you evolve and then become the man that you are now, and you meet Debbie and you learn to like even pay attention to the cues of, oh, you know what's going to make my wife happy? She likes to have social interaction with people. She takes 2 hours to get milk. It's cool. I'll drink something else till she get home. You know what I'm saying? I'll eat a bag of Doritos, whatever. Like those things are super amazing and precious. And I think it's just amazing to see that you have honed in on those things and wanting to learn not just yourself, but also another human being on this earth in the extent that you have. So That's really dope. But I wanted to say, this has been a treat for me, Maynard. Super amazing. This is probably one of my favorite interviews I've done, just because and I'm not just saying really because the wisdom. My great grandmother used to always say, God rest her soul. She used to always say, with age comes wisdom. And I started telling myself, you know what, with age should come wisdom, because a lot of people are just not willing to accept and apply the wisdom. But with age should come wisdom. And for yourself, you know what I'm saying, you have a lot of it. And so I'm just very thankful that we were able to cross paths to have this wonderful conversation. I'm super happy about it. I'm definitely gonna go back and watch it probably tonight,
Cool.
just to,
There you go.
take my own notes and hear some of the stuff you said. But
Are you running a YouTube channel as well, Daniel? Or
yeah, we're actually live on YouTube. This is my this
cool.
is my first time using StreamYard today. I got to my studio around like 5:08, jumped on here, started click, and then just kind of, luckily for me, I'm pretty tech savvy where I could kind of apply it. But this right here allowed me the opportunity to kind of expand my podcast, because there's so many people who ask me all the time, hey, can we do it virtually? I'm like, nah, I'd rather have you in person. And so now that I've done this, like, now I'm able to do this. And so this is going to be something I can do, you know what I'm saying, to just even, add to my own personal production as well.
That's pretty neat. That's cool. I'm glad I could help you on that. So
yes, sir.
I'm going to give you a little bit more wisdom here as we leave.
Yeah.
Conclude your episode here, is that the person you are today will be a different person in 10 years. So the person you were at 10 years of age is different than the person you were at 20. Your belief system then changes. By the time you're 30, it's changed again. By the time you're 40, it changes again. By the time you're 50, it changes again. By the time it's 60, it changes again, because your experiences become more and more, and your lessons become more and more. And then your belief system begins to change, manifest itself. If you immerse yourself in negativity, guess what happens to your belief system? And if you immerse yourself in positivity, guess what happens to your belief system? Can I tell you sad stories to make you cry? Sure can. Can I tell you happy stories to make you laugh? I sure can. We all have our own road, our own journey. But you know what? Start with listening to understand when you interact with people. And once you listen to other people's stories, you can be appreciative of your own. And that's it in a nutshell, buddy.
I might have to reach out to this personal one-on-one sessions. Help Daniel, you know what I'm saying? Weekly, you know what I'm saying? But I'm truly thankful again for the opportunity just to,
Cool.
like I said, have some time. I do want to tell you this. I know you without having to go be said, but please, bundle up tomorrow and every day, honestly, because you don't
know warmth until you experience the cold.
Well, listen, like I told you, when it gets to 69, you know what I'm saying? 69 is used for a lot of different things, but when it gets 69 degrees, I need to get me a windbreaker, a little hoodie. I bring them out the emergency glass, break the glass. I can't stand me. My brother moved here maybe 5 months ago now from Minnesota, and they had the worst winters here in the country. So
Minnesota gets it pretty hard, because they basically take the weather fronts right down from where we're at now. What you see in Minnesota is what we've experienced, like 5 days ahead of that. And that's the way the trade winds bring those weather fronts right down into northern Ontario, Minnesota, and that. And it's fantastic at International Falls, Minnesota. Fantastic fishing down there through there on that Rainy River system.
I wouldn't even really be able to enjoy the fishing because it's so cold. I would tell you this: people get super irritable when it's hot. I'm the exact way when it's cold. Some people love the room to be cold and they want to feel the sheets feel like ice. I will have an instant attitude if I can't even sleep like that. Like, some people can just bundle up and sleep. My body literally will not let me. I will wake up and just be like, we got to figure this out. We got to have some type of warmth on my body.
I function best in between 70 and 85 degrees is where I function best, right?
My kind of party.
Yeah, 40 degrees Celsius heat, and we're talking like 105, 110, 115. You can always tell a Canadian on a beach too. So if you're in around the Texas area, along the beaches, you want to see if it's Canadian. First day of the beach, they look like a snowball. Second day in the beach, they look like a tomato. So easiest way to tell a Canadian.
I like it. Well, listen, man, I just want to say again, I thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. And like I said, we have to do it again.
Oh, yeah, we'll be in touch. I'm sure this is the start of a long friendship, Daniel.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
You bet. Thanks for everybody for tuning in live, guys. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.